Hi, good evening. Welcome to Business Live. My name is Darryl Kwao. Coming up tonight, civil society organizations call on African Union to postpone Continental Free Trade Area start date. Also, markets kick off on a slow start a day after the president lifts ban. And also, domestic flights set to resume as president eases restrictions. We've got details coming up. Do stay tuned. In our first story tonight, civil society organizations are calling on the Trade Commission of the African Union to consider postponing the start date of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Now, this call has become necessary considering the havoc the novel coronavirus has dealt economies on the continent. There's more in this report.
It is an undeniable fact that the virus has already taken a significant toll on lives and the economies of many countries across the continent. Projected revenue for African governments has been hard hit, and the majority of businesses are not in good shape to take advantage of the agreement. With the closure of most land and sea borders, as well as airports, it will be difficult for people and goods to move freely within the context of the CFTA agreement. For this reason, some civil society groups, including CART International, is asking that the planned dates be pushed back for at least 6 months to allow countries and businesses recover from the pandemic. Their call is premised on the hope that the infection curve will be flattened by the third quarter across the continent, and economic managers and business owners would have an idea on the way forward. Joy Business checks reveal that if the AU decides to stick to the July 1st date, some countries could use the virus outbreak as a pretext to close their national borders, since goods and services cannot be moved without people. Ghana's representative at the Third Permanent General Assembly of the African Union Economic, Social and Economic Council, Apia Adomako, when contacted, disclosed that he was hopeful the postponement of the date would allow for the unfinished agenda on the protocols and goods to be completed. This, when done, will also permit the Secretariat, which is headquartered in Accra, Ghana, to be fully set up in terms of personnel and staff, he stated.
And we'll have some analysis on that story. We are hoping to speak with the Executive Director of the African Center for International Trade and Development on whether or not these calls are feasible for revision of the start date of the commencement of the CFTA. But it's day one of the suspension of the after the suspension of the three-week lockdown of the Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi. Now, Joy Business has been monitoring how businesses are picking up. We begin from the Junction Mall here in Accra, where my colleague Ebenezer Sabote reports business was slow for the first half of the day. Closed shops, half-empty car parks. That's generally what you see at the once vibrant Junction Mall in Accra, a day after the announcement by the president to lift the 21-day lockdown in Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi. General Manager of the Junction Mall, Ebenezer Amakwe, tells Joy Business, though things have been slow, they're gearing up for a huge business week.
On that, it's going to be gradual. You know, since the president announced the reopening of businesses yesterday, it was quite late in the evening. So most businesses are now taking time to put measures in place to restart their operations. But we are looking forward to business picking up gradually. You know, the system has been shut down for a while, and we are all trying to now get back on our feet. Though the system has been reopened for business, but it's going to be slow. So our expectation is that business is going to pick up eventually, but it's going to be gradual. That is why we have also instituted the measures such that we will put in the necessary protocols to control, ensure social distancing, and ensure that everybody observes the safety rules that have been put in place.
But have you had any communication with the managers of some of these shops that are not yet to open?
Oh yeah, sure. Readily this morning we started engaging them on how to start the operations again. So we are putting in the measures. Everything is on course.
The mall management has also put in place some health protocols for tenants and anybody doing business at the mall. Here's marketing manager Reggie Bule.
We also had a training for all staff within the mall. That was the first week, just after, I think the day after the president announced that we have the virus in town. We did a training for all staff within the mall in partnership with Light Out Care. They gave us doctors that trained our staff on what to do and what to expect and how to prevent yourself from getting infected with this virus.
Okay, before let you proceed. Upon coming here, we've been to some of the shops, but we could see that the social distancing protocols. What has been your engagement with some of these people and your, tenants against this? Because we could see that the protocol is not obeyed as it's supposed to be.
So, like I said, in the training, we made mention to them that they should at least give a 1 meter gap between each customer and the other. So, as you can see, there is a chair set out right here out of ShopRite. Prior to you going, we make sure that the number of people in there are not as many that would cause confusion. So they'll let you sit down and wait. When the numbers in there are less, you go in there. And when you go in there, those in the queue have demarcations on the floor that separates them, that you don't get closer to each other. You can see at MTN2, they have measures where they are trying to make sure that those that go in are not as much, so that they can have the gaps in between them, so that people will not get close to each other.
Mr. Bule is optimistic that many of the shops are restocking in order to take full advantage of the ban lifting.
All are fair to what the government has put in place, which they did. That's the reason why you are not seeing most of them here today. I would want to believe that they all have heard what the president said yesterday, and they are putting measures in place that when they come back to open their shops, they'll be able to serve their customers with all the expected goodies that they want to see in their shop. So it's not like they are not opening today. I'm very sure by close of day, all shops will open and all shops would be fully stocked to serve customers.
Other service providers at the mall are strategically planning the next option for their business. Ebenezer Sabotage report for Joy Business. All right, let's take you to the Central Business District of Accra, where my colleague Charles Aite reports that business activities were on a low side, with streets virtually empty as patrons met closed shops and empty tables.
This is how the Central Business District of Accra looks on the first day since the lockdown was lifted. Many traders are yet to open as fears of COVID-19 still lurks across the market. We were here in the early hours of trade activity. Traders say business is not that good.
It's very bad, I wouldn't lie. It's very bad. Sometimes you come, you don't really get any profit, but then you still have to come.
It's very, very difficult. In fact, the business is not going on. People are not coming to the town, and then the market is not also going on.
You can see the town is very quiet. So we are still praying to God to come in and help us.
This market center is home to thousands of informal sector workers. The 3-week lockdown indeed plunged profits and business activity, with buyers meeting empty shops and tables. As government suspends the lockdown, President Akufo-Addo gave one firm condition: that businesses adhere to social distancing measures.
Businesses and other workplaces can continue to operate, observing staff management and workplace protocols with a view to achieving social distancing and hygiene protocols.
But we came to meet a different situation. Here, most traders were going about their business with no protection whatsoever.
It's like they don't care about themselves. And this sickness is not like you take it as a joke or something like that. You're supposed to protect yourself before, if anything, because we're supposed to protect ourselves before God will protect us. But if you don't care about your life, then whatever happens to you, you cause it.
Everything. I get everything for myself.
John and Kwame could not wait getting back to business. But one thing seems off on them. They had no face masks. I asked them why.
The air not coming inside. I sweat. That's why
I have to breathe the fresh air, so that the one I will breathe out will not stay in the covered one, so that I will feel free. I don't afraid of any disease. I want to breathe fresh air. Yeah, that's why. So I don't need it.
The excuse by these traders sounded the same with other traders Joy Business engaged with.
I don't have some because I don't have money. Finish, then we walk around with the wire.
So why don't you worry today?
No, I don't do market. If 110, I had the shout. Now I don't feel. well listened and shout with.
Here at the Central Business District of Accra, you can see that business is booming gradually. But based on the interactions that we've had with most of the traders here, it does tend to mean that basic protective measures, wearing nose masks, and that of applying hand sanitizers and even social distancing is something traders here are yet to catch up on. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
We want to take you next to the Ashanti region, where managers of the Jiso market are considering a rotational system for traders to ensure compliance with social distancing protocols despite lifting of the lockdown. Already, the traditional market days of Sundays and Thursdays have been suspended, but many traders are disregarding all preventive measures except hand washing. Prince Apia visited the market, which has seen huge numbers.
The Jiso municipality was one of the areas locked down in the Ashanti region for 3 weeks. Traders at the market in the capital were going about their activities as though there was no disease scare. Amasewa, also known as Colombia, confirms.
Social distancing, they had
the social distancing is not working here because everybody wants to trade. Many of us don't understand. Because people want to survive, non-food traders are now selling food, so we are crowded here.
Thursdays and Sundays are the market days, which see many trips to the facility for business have been suspended by municipal authorities to ensure proper spacing. The traders themselves acknowledge stricter measures are needed and they welcome the idea of a rotational system.
Our names have been written. They are going to distribute cards to us. I think the rotation system will help. So after we receive the cards, we will run a shift system. We shall abide by it.
After government lifted the lockdown, many customers and traders are here in their numbers to trade or buy one thing or the other. Authorities say a rotational system is imminent. This is the Member of Parliament for Jiso, Kwabena Owusu-Aduomi.
Well, they should all comply because the disease knows no bounds. It's a disease that if you fail to comply with the directives, what science has advised us, and you just want to do whatever you want, you may not be lucky and you may contract disease. So I will still advise them. I will still plead with my people, market women, to ensure that the social distancing, the washing of hands frequently and sanitizing it, and also covering your nose with a mask is important so that we all prevent.
Mr. Owusu-Aduomi revealed this after distributing 1,500 bags of rice to vulnerable members of the Jiso community at the cost of 300,000 Ghana cedis. Prince Apia reporting.
You're watching Business Live. We want to take you back to our top story about civil society organizations calling for a review of the start date of the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Joining me to discuss this is Executive Director for the Africa Center for International Trade and Development, Isaac Hubert Arthur. Thanks for your time tonight. And so do you think that these calls are justified?
Yeah, Darren, thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me to speak to this subject. And good evening to your listeners as well. The AFCFTA, I honestly think that as a center, we believe that it shouldn't be postponed. We don't believe that the commencement of the AFCFTA in July 2020 should be postponed, because it will not be in our own interest to do that.
Considering all the work that has gone into getting this to work, let's talk about the pandemic. Let's talk about its effect on trade. What do you anticipate it would be on intra-Africa trade?
I mean, of course, obviously you can see that it has affected productive capacity. And with that, I mean that a lot of industries have closed down. I mean, we are not having productions, with the exception of the pharmaceutical and food production that have gone on in the past few weeks and months since the COVID-19 started. So obviously, it hasn't affected, the entire system. I mean, just specifically when it comes to trading, most of the borders are closed. I mean, the borders, both the airports, our airlines are not working. Most of our cargoes are not moving across the various borders, even here in West Africa. And then, most of the ship lines are not moving like the way they normally operate. So obviously, Africa trade is affected heavily.
Okay, and so what lessons do you think we should draw from this? Because the World Trade Organization is seeing trade decline globally. We are also talking about a recession that is anticipated, one that we have not seen in 25 years. What lessons should we draw from this when it comes to trading amongst ourselves? Because some have said this has really shown that Africa has to produce so we can trade amongst ourselves and not necessarily with other countries outside of the continent.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think that this pandemic should really give us the confidence that, as a continent, we are able and we are capable to look internally to increase our productive capacities. And one of the key lessons is that we have to stop relying on trading with countries outside Africa. I mean, Africa has been in the last 2 years. I mean, one pandemic has caused a lot of damages to our businesses, and things are not flowing away. So this should tell us that we need to look at our internal capabilities as a continent. We need to be indigenous oriented. We need to look at local capacity to be able to produce certain things. I mean, we have seen it when it comes to pharmaceutical products. We have seen it with the food product as well. I'm sure in other areas we can also explore. This should give us the confidence that we need to. That is why the president's initiative on one district, one factory is a very laudable idea, and I think this is the best time for it to scale. We need to scale that initiative. We need to really make it to work because we are seeing the benefit of it. There are a lot of things we didn't know we can even produce. I mean, most of these PPEs, I'm sure if it had not been this pandemic, the pressure on us to really look at internal systems and structures and to encourage the industries to really produce these PPEs wouldn't have been there. But I mean, thanks to COVID-19, I mean, yes, it's a pandemic, it's a crisis, but it has helped us to look at other ways. We are thinking outside the box. We are concentrating on our own local industry. And I think that is a very good thing. It's going to boost industrialization. And one other thing too is that it is forcing us to change our way of work. I mean, a lot of meetings...
you heard Isaac Hubert Arthur. He's Executive Director of the Africa Center for International Trade and Development. Unfortunately, we don't have so much time. We want to quickly touch on one of our top stories tonight to do with the fact that some airlines, domestic airlines, are resuming domestic flights. Sheila Tamaklo following that beat for us. She joins me in the studio. Sheila, so we know that the Africa World Airlines is resuming scheduled domestic flights beginning tomorrow. What are you hearing?
Okay, so, I mean, Per, that yesterday's addressed by the president. Now, some of the restrictions has been lifted, so airlines are allowed to fly. And in this case, the domestic ones. So Africa World Airlines plans to take off from tomorrow. They are going to start with one flight, a schedule of one flight a day to Kumasi and Tamale. And as they're going to do this, they're also going to now bring in strict protocols. For instance, you're going
I know they've been meeting on that.
Exactly. So they've been meeting the Ghana Airport Company Limited to come up with the necessary protocols on how to handle passengers. There's the issue of social distancing. So they are considering a situation whereby, you know, when you get onto their planes, for instance, you see there are 2 seats on one side and then 1 on the other. So there's going to be a situation whereby there's just going to be, instead of the 3 persons on the lane, it's going to be 2 persons on the lane to ensure the social distancing. And then you're also going to be required to wash your hands, sanitize before you get on board. And everybody is supposed to have a nose mask.
All right, and there are implications on revenue as well. We'll discuss that later on. Thank you so much, Sheila Tamaklo, with that update. That's Business Live tonight. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching.